Hello, everybody, and welcome to English Grammar with Amir sir. And I hope that you are at home and safe. And we will continue our discussion on the textbook SSE 10 standard, of course. The thing is, last time we finished the chapter 3, unit 3.3, based on Stephen Hawking's life, and today we have got two things on the agenda. Number one, we are going to study a wonderful, very inspiring poem by Berton Braley, which is the unit 3.4, and the title is The Will to Win. So, as the name itself would suggest, it's a very motivational poem, very inspiring indeed. I have no doubt that you all will love that. And the second thing on the agenda today is a grammar discussion, and we are going to discuss how to rewrite using no sooner than. It's a very important question, and the technique should be mastered because it seems simple. It's one of those topics where it seems simple, but students fail to score full marks there. So we will go ahead and look at the details, and we will have an in-depth discussion about the mistakes to avoid, what basically are the blunders that you could possibly make, and the ways to get the answer. So let's get started straight away and dive into the topic for today, which is the poem, as I mentioned, the poetry. 3.4, The Will to Win. This will be the second poem that we shall study. I think Night of the Scorpion was the first poem that we studied this year. Okay, so about the poet. This gentleman is Berton Braley, and what's about him? Berton Braley was born in Madison, Wisconsin, USA. That's United States of America. He inherited his father's talent in writing and had shown his talent at a young age of 11. So there are many people who will show what they can do at a very early stage. He was definitely one of them. And now, what else? He published his first work, a fairy tale called Why the Grass is Green. So that is the name of his first fairy tale. If that's available in your local library, please go ahead and check that out. Braley was considered a person who was always optimistic. Well, that's the similarity he and I would have. Always optimistic, always looking for a reason to smile, always looking for that silver lining in dark clouds. Alright, so he held the belief that everything is possible. You know this line where they say, impossible also means I am possible, or something like that. So he was a very optimistic person. Braley had written around 4,000 verses. Now, I hope that you know the difference between verses, lines of poem, and verses to opponents, versus and verses. There's a big difference, and I hope that you are well aware about it. So what I mean is, let me pull up the notepad. I just want to make sure that you've understood what I'm saying here. My point is that there is a difference between verses and versus. There is a definite difference between the two. Verses are the lines of poetry, and versus is the challenge between two teams or opponents or whatever. So it's like India versus Australia or something like that. Okay, so back to the poem then. We were talking about Berton Braley, and what else? He has written around 4,000 verses, we saw that, and several hundred short stories, making him one of the most widely read American poets of his era. Era is the time period. So he is definitely one of the most widely read American poets of his era. And this gentleman here, you can see, is Berton Braley. This is the image I got from Wikipedia. In this poem, the poet teaches us to have the will to win. Again, over here, will is not the future tense will. Here, will shows desire, the willpower will. Okay. Come what may. Now, what is this come what may? I'm sure you've heard of this before, and this is not the first time. But what does it mean? Come what may means whatever happens. Come what may means whatever happens. So he says, he insists that we must always have the will to win, come what may. And what better time to study this poem? We are battling against the COVID-19 pandemic, and this poem could not have come at a better time. So he is saying we always should have the will to win, and I personally believe that no doubt that we all, mankind, or rather the human race, will triumph and we will come out victorious. And very soon I hope that there will be a cure. The vaccine will take some time to hit the markets, but at least the cure would be found pretty soon. At least the doctors could say that once diagnosed of this particular virus, a person won't die. At least that much will come to that, and that's the will to win. We want to, the scientists, the doctors, the medical practitioners, pharmacies, they are all at work trying to find a solution, the cure, the vaccine. Okay, the will to win is what we must never lose. So the poet also insists that we must have the will to win, come what may. That means whatever happens. Okay, then about the poem. This poem does not have a definite rhyme scheme. So there is no definite rhyme scheme, but there's something interesting. Well, there are random words used throughout the poem that rhyme. So if you're talking strictly about a rhyme scheme, well, there is no definite rhyme scheme, but there are words in between that definitely rhyme. So you wouldn't say that it has a proper rhyme scheme. The second point is that the poem also does not have a definite rhythm, and therefore this will be an example of a free verse. We have discussed this, and I want you guys to once again understand the difference between a free verse and a blank verse. What is the difference? When it's a free verse, like in this case we are studying, there is no rhyme scheme, okay, and also there is no definite rhythm. That makes it a free verse. And what is a blank verse? The blank verse again means no rhyme scheme, but in this case there is a definite rhythm. Guys, that's the difference between the two, the free verse and a blank verse. I want you to understand it very carefully. Okay, all right, then back to poetry. The third point is the tone of the poem is motivational. You can also write that the tone of this poem is inspirational. You can definitely say that, and I love such poems. I'm an optimistic guy and I like such poems, okay, that they show how to always stay positive, how always to anticipate the good, and always to work for achieving success. What happens after that is beyond your control, but the main thing is always to be in state of motivation. Here is something good I want to share with all of you. Motivation is not something external. If they are the youngsters, especially my students, got to understand that motivation, inspiration has to happen from within. It does not come from outside. Yes, you can look at examples. We looked at Stephen Hawking's example, but it's very important that it has to come from within. You have to be motivated from within, and that is what you must try to understand. Every time if you look for an external motivation, after some time the power will diminish, that energy will definitely decline. But if you are lit from here, ignited minds, as APJ Abdul Kalam has said, he in fact wrote a book by that title. If that motivation comes from within, that's going to last a lifetime. So I earnestly want my students to understand this nice point. Sometimes, a point here and there has the potential to change your life. I'm telling you. So this is the point I want to make. What is my point? Yes, external things, Amaya sir, can motivate you, but the ultimate source of motivation, inspiration has to come from within. Okay, so if you are with an ignited mind, that will last longer. Back to poetry. So we have discussed these 3 points, and I want you to take, how much time shall I give you? 2 minutes? I think 2 minutes will be enough just to make a note of the things that you see here. Okay, So please, I will start the countdown timer. Utilize these 2 minutes to write down the following. I would recommend that you should finish this in a minute, and then also we will visit the notepad to write down the difference between blank verse and free verse in case you have not mentioned it in the first poem. We did The Night of the Scorpion. 3.1 was the first poem we did. This is the second poem we are studying. And also the spelling of the word definite, guys. D-E-F-I-N-I-T-E. Because of the sound definite, you might be tempted to make the spelling as D-E-F-I-N-A-T-E. Well, that's not quite what it is. Should look it up in the dictionary if you have a doubt. And always remember my point. Always be motivated from within. The external sources can motivate you, but at the end of the day, it is your life. You have to be motivated from within. That will help you motivate even others. Let alone being in state of motivation, you will have then the potential to motivate others. And now I believe it is under a minute, so I will pull up the notepad because this is what I want you to write. Take not more than 40 seconds for this one. So basically we discussed the difference between verses and verses, done that so far, and the difference between free verse and blank verse. Okay, free verse, blank verse. In a free verse, there's no rhyme scheme, no definite rhythm as well. Blank verse, you have no rhyme scheme, but then there is a definite rhythm. And I hope that you are done writing this, so we will continue with the poem. All right. Now for the actual poem. Let me start reading it as usual. Let me come on cam to share this with you. Whenever I read, whenever I'm explaining and making a point, always be focused on the screen. Okay, very important. Later on, you all know that I give you enough time to jot down. And more importantly, this video is there on my channel. So anytime you think that you want to write it down later, of course, you can revisit, watch it over and over again until you make sure you have all the content. Okay, so we were talking about the poem now. In fact, we were about to start reading it. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, work day and night for it, give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it, that's what is the condition for success. That's a recipe for success, the will to win, for victory. What is the poet saying? If you want a thing bad enough, and it's very important to understand, whatever it is that you want, well, if you don't want it bad enough, then you're not going to be able to achieve that. If it is just a thing that will just pass by, it's probably just a phase in your life that will pass by, well, you can't call that a passion. I would like to share with you again what late Honorable APJ Abdul Kalam said. He made a very nice definition of the dreams. And he was very clear in saying that dreams are not what you see when you're asleep. Dreams are those that don't let you sleep. I hope that you registered the important point there. And so true. Just a fad that is passing by, a phase that you will just pass through, it cannot be called your passion. It has to be a thing that you want bad enough. Then you can call that passion, and that's a required prerequisite, let's say, for victory or for success. Well, if you want a thing bad enough, then definitely you can call that your passion. To go out and fight for it, of course you have to fight for things. Nobody just presents those things on a platter. Consider the Indian independence. Freedom fighters struggled. They made their ultimate sacrifice. Some of them were hanged to death. So you have to go out because their mission was independence. So you have to, first of all, you want it bad enough. So second, you have to go out and fight for it. People won't present it to you. And believe me, if that is the way you get success, you will not even care for it. The third line, work day and night for it. Again, going back to this COVID-19 pandemic, people are working day and night. May that be the police force, may that be the doctors, may that be the pharmacists, the research and development team. They are working day and night for a better human race that has a cure for this, okay? The fourth line and the last line is, give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it. So clearly you must have understood that that's a figures of speech there, the way even I read it. First there's antithesis. Why is that so? Because two opposite words, day and night, occur in the same line. If you remember guys, we did discuss the difference between antithesis, paradox and oxymoron in the first poem we actually studied. So if you don't quite know or you have not watched that video, I strongly suggest you go ahead and watch that. There was the difference that we studied between antithesis, oxymoron, paradox. They all seem that they're opposite words. What's the difference? We dealt with that there. Okay. What else is there in this slide to study? I told you this is climax because the ideas are arranged in an ascending order. If it's a descending order, then it becomes the anticlimax. So this time it is climax. And also repetition, because the words and your are repeated for a better poetic effect. If it was only and, then I wouldn't say it's repetition, but you have and your, two words are getting repeated there. Mind you, the spelling of repetition is R-E-P-E-T-I-T-I-O-N. There is no A in the spelling of repetition. Guys, please make a note of such things. Observe that when you write the word repeated, then you surely have A, but in the spelling of repetition, you don't have A. That's the thing you should make a note of. Well, talking of repetition, there's something interesting I wanted to share with you today. Well, you see here that repetition can be classified according to this chart into two. First, you can say it's anaphora, and the second you can say that it's epistrophe. And why is that so? When the start for something is the same, for a few lines, if you have the same start, to say it's anaphora. Notice the sound and the pronunciation, anaphora. And if the end is the same for some lines, then you can say it is epistrophe. So what is applicable here? I think you will notice that it is epistrophe here. Notice this: for it, and for it. So the poet Berton Braley has used a similar pattern for ending it. The end is similar. And so if that is the case, you can say that it is epistrophe. Well, somehow if the start is the same, then it is still repetition. Well, you can say it's repetition, is it not? For it. Yes, it's repetition. But if the repetition occurs at the end of the line consistently, it's epistrophe. If the repetition occurs at the start of the lines, then it becomes anaphora. Okay, I'm going to now give you 2 minutes of time to jot down everything that's here on the slide. Please go ahead and jot down everything. For the chart, you should also draw it the way I have done. Make simple boxes, show the distribution. They both, anaphora and epistrophe, show repetition. It's just that it depends whether the start is the same or the climax is the same. So go ahead and make notes. Okay, I hope that you're making perfect notes. Ascending order, I repeat, ascending order is climax, the descending order is anticlimax. And here you have the example of epistrophe, for it. But if you look, when we look at the entire poem, I'm sure that we will find an anaphora as well. We will deal with that. This was just the first stanza. So subsequently, when we proceed, we might just find out that this has anaphora as well. Another 30 seconds for you. And kindly go ahead and watch that video if you have not watched it yet, where we have discussed the difference between antithesis, paradox and oxymoron. They all seem to be one with opposite words, but it's not exactly like that. There is a clear difference between the three. And also the spelling of repetition, I made my point that it is R-E-P-E-T-I-T-I-O-N, not with the A. And your time is up. And I think we should now proceed to the next slide. Let me read it as usual. Stop writing, stop making your notes, focus. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it. Guys, I want you to also recollect that there was something called as enjambment that we studied. I repeat, enjambment. That was something that we studied. Do you recollect? There was this thing called enjambment in the Night of the Scorpion. What, if you remember what it meant? It meant that the line has to be, the next line has to be read along with the existing current line for the meaning to be complete. Look at this line here. If all that you dream and scheme is about it and life. Now you cannot stop at life, right? About it and life seems useless and worthless without it. Well, now it is complete. So this is another example of enjambment. We saw that in 3.1, Night of the Scorpion. Okay. So what is this? If you gladly sweat for, fret for, and plan for it, and lose, now you cannot stop here, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it. Guys, again we are talking about the conditions for getting victory or achieving victory. So if all that we dream is about that one thing, if all that we plan for is about that one thing, if we are gladly sweating for it, then that is passion. Gladly. Well, you would see how people grumble when they have to take efforts for something. Well, if they are gladly taking efforts for something, then you can call that your passion. Let's go back to our freedom fighters. They fought for India's freedom. Were they going to get some kind of monetary benefits? No, they did that with passion. They didn't complain about the hardship. They gladly did that for their mother country, okay, for the freedom, for the independence. And finally, we did achieve that. But then that is the meaning. You should gladly sweat for it. Like for example, some students, they don't like mathematics. So just if you sit there with a book, not understanding anything, but just pretending to do something for hours, it's not good. And then you still tell the world how you studied for 3 hours. No, that's not your passion. You should gladly sweat for it in order to achieve it. You should be willing to do it. You should be willing to take efforts. Then we can say that you are working with passion. No complaints about the hard work, about the hardship. Then what do we have? If you lose all your terror of the opposition for it. What a line this is. It's amazing. You should lose all the terror of the opposition. So that means that, again talking about the freedom fighters, did they not know that they would probably be hanged? Did they not know that in a battle they could be killed? Yes, they knew. They had taken all that, they had factored in. But then their passion was bigger than that terror or that threat. And that's what I want you to understand. So when you lose all your fright, all your terror, because you know your ultimate objective, if you gladly sweat for it, if all that you dream, not in your sleep, but when you're alive, or something that doesn't let you sleep, remember? Then it is your passion, and then you have a chance. Still, I'm saying you have a chance of getting success. Wonderful poem, is it not? That's why Berton Braley is believed to be so optimistic. I love this poem. Now, what is the thing to study here? Scheme here is a plan. Useless and worthless is tautology, because the words useless and worthless practically mean the same. Even I read this with climax, is it not? Sweat for, fret for, and plan for it. Well, you can also say it's repetition, because the word for is getting repeated. And here fret means to be worried or be anxious. Now, a line to remember. This is something that I wanted to share with you. Always remember, guys, whenever you have an idea, something that is in your mind, there's something different you want to do, this is what people will always ask you. They'll first ask you, why are you doing this? Keep going until one day they ask you, how did you do this? Okay, I'm making it clear one more time. First, they will ask you, why are you doing this? Because they might not understand. You have visualize something, think from the future point of view. That's important. So let people first ask you. They will always inadvertently, they'll just ask you, why are you doing this? Keep doing it. Achieve success until the day they come to you and ask, how did you do this? So that now you can just pass on that wisdom and help them also grow and prosper. So remember this, they'll always have this. And I'm going to start your countdown timer now. You have 2 minutes. Please jot down properly, even the line to remember. What is that line? First, they will ask you, by they I mean people in general, they will ask you, why are you doing this? Keep going until one day they ask you, how did you do this? It's very important, guys. Initially, you always will get some opposition. Nobody likes change. Everybody thinks that, nah, this will not work, doesn't have any merit. But if you have faith, if you have visualized something, you know it is worth it, then go for it. As far as figures of speech are concerned, you have climax here, you have tautology here, and you can say that it is repetition for the word for. The vocabulary, we have 2 entries here. Scheme means to plan, and fret means to be anxious or worried. Talking of people asking, why are you doing this and how did you do this? People will also ask, tell you that it's impossible. They'll laugh at you. And some great individual has already made it clear that if people don't laugh at your dreams, or your dreams are not big enough, let people laugh and dismiss them as unbelievable or impossible. It's then fun to actually go ahead and make it happen. The guy who just declared that he would probably he would go on the moon was laughed at. The guy who told the world that there would be some unit called television where people could watch a live match continents away, people laughed. But the guy who said, I'll make a telephone and probably it will work without a wire, that's mobile phone, people laughed. When the Wright brothers told the world that there will be something heavier than air that will fly when we are seated in it, people laughed. So first they'll always criticize you, but have faith, keep doing it, and let them one day ask you, how did you do this? And your time is up, and I hope that you're ready. We will proceed to the next one. Again, stop writing. The next slide has come up. I'm going to read and explain. If you simply go after that thing you want with all your capacity, strength, and sagacity, every word is so important here. Whatever it is, guys, that you want, how should you pursue that? With all your capacity, with all your strength, and with all your sagacity. I want you to understand how I'm pronouncing it. Sagacity. It's not sagacity. The G is the G sound, okay? Sagacity. That's not all. Faith, hope, and confidence, and a stern pertinacity. All qualities are so important. Without even one of them, I don't think you'll be victorious. Okay. Now, before we proceed further to go ahead and study what's important in this particular slide, have you noticed this, that for the past few stanzas, or in fact all the previous stanzas, you had these stanzas beginning with if? So that is what I'm coming at. So this is a very good example of anaphora. Absolutely right. Well, in the first stanza we had epistrophe, where everything ended with for it, for it, for it. Now you have the similar start. So for all the stanzas, we saw that the poet is giving a condition. If this is the case, then you will be victorious. If this is the case, then you have the will to win. If is the word that is used to introduce every stanza so far. So clearly you can see that we have an anaphora. As I rightly suspected, we will get it, and we have it. What's the thing to study here, guys? Sagacity. Learn it with the proper sound it makes. The pronunciation is sagacity. It means wisdom and good judgment. And pertinacity is another word you should know, which means a firm determination or persistent. Stern is firm. Okay. Stern pertinacity means firm determination or a very firm persistent, not to give up easily. That is what it means. You can say all these qualities are a part of climax because they are in ascending order. What all do you need? Capacity, strength, sagacity, faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity. So yes, they are arranged in ascending order. And tautology, because faith and hope will mean the same. So important, guys. Faith and hope, you can say that they are kind of similar. So yes, it's tautology. So basically tautology and antithesis are opposite figures of speech. That in itself will be an antithesis. Guys, I strongly recommend that all of you should go ahead and watch my videos on the channel, another channel that I run, which is Think Better, Live Better by Ameya Vaidya. And this is the screenshot of that. And this talks about motivation. Because this poem is about inspiration, motivation, the will to win, I strongly recommend that you go ahead and watch the videos, and of course leave in the comments what you thought. The videos are very short. They are not more than 10 minutes. Only if there is an incident or a story is the video longer than that. But more or less it's of a very shorter duration, so that I can make my point quickly and leave you with something nice to think. So go ahead and please watch that. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. I'm going to start the countdown timer. Please jot down the things, and also please make a note of this anaphora entry, guys. This is anaphora because for the past 3 stanzas we have been looking at the starting word, which is if. So if is used to introduce all the stanzas. And yes, kindly please make a note of my channel, which is Think Better, Live Better by Ameya Vaidya. And I have actually thought that this is the right platform to introduce the channel, because the poem is about motivation and inspiration, will to win. It's very suitable that I tell you about this channel of mine. Okay. Please make a note of it. I will be with you in some seconds. Pertinacity, guys, I'm sure was a new word for you. Sagacity, there are chances that you might have heard of this before, but I'm not sure you would have heard it correctly as sagacity. The sound is also important. When you study a word, you shouldn't just know the spelling and its meaning. You should also know the correct way to pronounce it. Then only you're going to be able to use it in your communication. Sagacity. But there are chances that you might have heard of it. Pertinacity might certainly be new for most. Let me know in the comments if I'm right. That's it. The time is up and we should proceed to the next slide. And the poem is going to end here. Stop writing, stop doing your work and focus. If again you have this, so one more time you have this stanza introduced after if. So this is again anaphora, and look at the last couplet. You again have if. So clearly we got epistrophe and anaphora in the poem. Let me read it now. How does the poem end? The poet says, if neither cold or poverty, famished or gaunt, or sickness or pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you will get it. Such a beautiful composition. Now there are so many words here to study. Famished means very hungry. The word gaunt probably is new for you, which means frail due to illness, the weakness. The frail or thin body that is a result of an illness or recovery from a long prolonged illness. Grim is serious. Well, that's actually easy. Now this one is climax, because cold or poverty, famished or gaunt, sickness or pain. It's always a pair in every part. Cold, poverty, famished, gaunt, sickness, pain. And so because the ideas are arranged in an ascending order, it's a climax. Of body and brain will be alliteration because of the sound B that is repeated. I want you to make a note of such things, that I'm not saying letter B. I'm saying the sound B is repeated. There is a difference, guys. I'm not saying the letter B. I'm saying the sound B is repeated for a better poetic effect. And alliteration, mind you, Alliteration. And of course, Berton Braley, the name of the poet. What else? Dogged, and that's how you want to pronounce it. Dogged, meaning being persistent. You should chase your dreams with passion. Only then dreams come true, guys. Besiege and beset, it's tautology. Besiege and beset, let me tell you, besiege means to surround. Okay, so imagine that this is some kind of a fort which you want to capture. Then if you surround it with your army like this, then you can say this is besieged, that the troops, has besieged the entire thing. Very important, guys. And your homework is to get the meaning of beset. You can leave that in the comments. Some guys actually leave it in the comments, or they email me rather than doing it at home in their notepad, or choose the medium you like. But give me the meaning of this, unless, of course, if let me make sure that I have not given it. No, I have not given it. So you will have to do this. Give me the meaning of beset. You should notice that God is all in capital letters, because this is for emphasis. Remember, we're talking about the Almighty here. And whenever there's any reference to God, G is capital. In this case, there is so much of emphasis that entire word is with capital letters. And there is one more. You will get it. Well, that's exclamation. Now, when I say exclamation, there is a thing to note. Exclamation doesn't have the spelling as EXCLAI. There is no I over here, okay? Exclamation. Of course, TION, you have an I there. Strong emotions are expressed because you see that there's this exclamatory mark here. So you will, the poet wants to stress that you will get success with the help of, you need a little luck, is it not? Hard work can be 99%, but you need that 1% of luck going your way, maybe divine intervention, but yes, 1%. But of course you get that with hard work. Only relying on that 1% is not enough. You need to work hard, you need to work smart rather, and then with God's help, a little nudge from the God, by way of luck, by way of opportunity, whichever way you want to put it, you will definitely get success. So this is what the poet wants to say. Well, there are a lot of things to make a note of. Let me quickly start your timer. Kindly make a note of the word besiege as well, which means to surround in order to capture. The word beset is what you will find out. That's your homework. Please do your homework. Take your time, make accurate notes. There are glossary entries here, there's figures of speech here. There is a language study entry for God. There is anaphora as well. We notice that again the stanzas start with if. Quite a lot to make a note of. After this, we have to study a grammar topic, no sooner than. That's on the agenda for today. So this poem, by the way, let me know whether you like this poem. Of course, we are not immediately going to proceed to no sooner than, because I will discuss the critical appreciation of the poem. No doubt I'm going to give it to you. As usual, I don't insist that you should simply copy what I offer. But yes, what I offer is of value. If you like it, you can keep it. So after this, we will discuss one match the following, probably. That's interesting from the textbook. And then move to critical appreciation before we start the topic no sooner than. About 25 seconds more and then we shall proceed. Hope you are almost done. And last 5 seconds. Alright guys, the time is up. Let us go ahead and proceed. As I told you that there's this thing that I want to discuss, the textual exercise. Before that, there's this nice point I have shortlisted. If and whether. So if versus whether. Oh, by the way, when I say versus, now you know, is it not? This versus is not the VERSES but the VERSUS. So guys, what's the difference between if and whether? Well, if is used for consideration of one condition. It is uniconditional and that there is no other option. Whether is used for two possibilities or two possible outcomes. That means there are options. So I repeat, if is uniconditional, there is no other option. But for whether, there are two possibilities, so there are options. What do I mean by that? So we are going to look at an example. I'll give you a minute guys later to jot down the important things. Let's look at the example. Look at the example. You can do this if you like, not otherwise. So I have actually made the word if a little bolder, so you understand. You can do this if you like. So the condition is if you like. If you don't like it, don't do it. So in short, what I mean is that there is only one condition, uniconditional. If you like it, then you do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Look at the second one. You will have to do this whether you like it or not. So that's regardless. And now you will understand the difference. You will have to do this whether, the first condition is whether you like it. The second condition is whether you don't like it. So whenever such things happen, you have to use whether. I have no doubt guys that you love the difference between the two. Well, casually speaking, they mean the same, casually speaking, but it's not exactly the same. I've started your countdown timer for just a minute because this should not take more than a minute. Go ahead and write it down. Please make accurate notes. If is uniconditional, only one condition. Whether is biconditional. There are two possibilities. So the example is, well, you can do this if you like it. They have a freedom there. So only one condition. If you like it, you do it. Well, in the second one, it's more like forced. You will have to do this whether you like it or not. Well, then it becomes regardless of whether you like it or not. Then you use whether. Okay, last 20 seconds. Please jot down the example. Also, the words I used were uniconditional and biconditional. Those are the two words I used which are not mentioned in the slide but may just come in handy. Last 5 seconds. Alright, your time is up and let me come on camera to share something interesting. We saw the difference just now between if and whether. So consider the difference in the meaning. I will visit him if he calls me. I will visit him if he calls me. And I will visit him whether he calls me or not. So there is a definite difference and I'm sure you love this example. So in one case you will visit if there is an invitation, otherwise I'm not going. The second one, I will visit. I will go to his house whether he invites me or not. So maybe the relation is very friendly. You don't need a formal invitation. But I hope that the meaning was well understood. Okay, let's go back to the PPT and now we are going to discuss this textual assignment. Again, I'm going to give you not more than a minute. Let me start the countdown timer. There you go, a minute. Match the following. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to match A, B, C, D. I will be with you after another 45 odd seconds. Well, the as a student, I want to share this with you. As a student, I always liked when the questions had corresponding entries only. Now, what I mean is, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have A, B, C, D as their counterpart. So, if you, the meaning is, as a student, why I used to be happy is because if I get 3, I automatically get 4. The flip side of that is that if you get one wrong, you get two wrong. Let me know in the comments. Okay, and now for the answer. That's the answer, or answers. Those are the answers. One is C. Toil hard actually means to work day and night for it. Get rid of means to lose all the terror of the opposition for it. Extremely poor condition means if neither cold or poverty, famished or gaunt. Remember that line? Need desperately is if you want a thing bad enough. Of course, I hope that you got 4 out of 4. Leave it in the comments if you got 4 out of 4. Time to proceed to the next entry that we have. Oh, the critical appreciation, big one. Okay, before I bring the critical appreciation, let me come on cam. I'm going to read the critical appreciation. Don't start writing it out immediately. I will read the critical appreciation and then give you a couple of minutes to jot it down. Okay, so please listen to it and only then start copying it down. So there you go. Yeah, there it is. In fact, we could do one thing, guys. Let me start the countdown timer and set it for 3 minutes. Yeah, that would be great, right? No, 2 minutes is fine. Let's keep the time as 2 minutes. I shall read it, and if you want, you can start jotting it down. I'm okay with that, guys. Okay, let's get started. Okay, 2 minutes. So that's your critical appreciation. The time has started. The poem The Will to Win has been written by Berton Braley. So the name of the poem and the poet. The poem is an example of a free verse. We talk about rhyme scheme here. This means that there is no fixed rhyme scheme or a definite rhythm. Yes, there are a few words that rhyme in between the lines. I love the line. So my favorite line, okay? Life seems useless and worthless without it. So this line throws light on how important having a target is. The tone of the poem is inspirational and it leaves the reader with motivation, leaves the reader motivated. The poet believes that we can get success if we really show persistence and passion. Very important. This poem is actually a recipe for success. I like this. I like this part, recipe for success. You can actually treat it as important. There are a lot of various figures of speech that decorate the poem. You can use the word adorn, such as climax, tautology, exclamation, etc. The one that is very interesting is anaphora repetition. Most of the lines begin with if. In fact, every first line of the stanza begins with if. We saw that. Okay, it suggests condition. I simply love this poem because it can encourage anyone to rise and take efforts, focus, and eventually attain big success. I hope that you all like the critical appreciation that I have shared with you. Make sure that you jot it down properly. You have some more time. I have decided that I'm going to give you another minute, guys, for this one, because I was reading it. So now you have a minute more. And you would notice that there are good words here. For example, there was this word that I just used, persist, decorate, yes, adorn, you can use that. There's this dialogue that comes to my mind from the movie The Karate Kid, where Jackie Chan says that life will knock us down, but it is up to us to decide whether we want to get back up or not. Very important. And of course, there's this beautiful line by the character Doolittle in the movie Pearl Harbor. He is an Air Force officer, and I believe that his line is epic simply because it's famous world over. The movie is a blockbuster. Let me share that line. That particular officer, Doolittle is his name in the movie Pearl Harbor. He says victory belongs to those who believe in it the most and who believe in it the longest. Very nice line, is it not? If you believe in it the longest, if you believe in it the most, then there are chances that you will be the victorious one. You will win because you believe in it the most and you believe in it the longest. That's when you have chances of victory. All right, guys, now that we are done with this, I suppose it is time for us to go and study the no sooner than topic for today. Let me pull up the notepad. Let me see. I'll bring it up for you. Bear with me. I will have that no sooner than with us, and the no sooner than will talk in detail about the topic that seems easy. There you go. Okay, so I have now got it in front of us. No sooner than. Okay, this topic is it's something that seems easy, but it's not. Students, even scholars, lose marks. So let's go straight dive into the topic with an example. The line is, you will receive the delivery after you make the payment. So maybe it's not cash on delivery. You will receive the delivery after you make the payment. How will you rewrite this using no sooner than? Well, here are the following steps. Number one, you start with no sooner. So you will see, guys, over here how the answer is gradually going to be built up. So you start with no sooner. That's the first component. Then you use the auxiliary. In this case, the auxiliary is will. That's why you will use will you make the payment. Then after that, you should introduce the word than. And then final part after than will be the same. It will never change. Then you will receive the delivery. Well, this part will never change. So I hope that you're clear with this. What's the first step? Where you start with no sooner. The second is you use the auxiliary. We will deal with the part when there is no auxiliary and what to do. We'll find that out. Then you use the word than. Guys, I'm talking about than. T-H-A-N. I am not talking about T-H-E-N. Not then. Than. And the final part after than never changes. So you will receive the delivery. You will receive the delivery remains the same. That part does not change. I'm going to give you a minute to make a note of this. Just a minute, guys. Make accurate notes. This should definitely be in the notepad. I don't think you want to make an entry of this into the textbook. For my lecture, it's always advisable to have your notepad handy, guys. Another 30 seconds. Note that I have shown with arrows the steps, and then subsequently in the blue you have the answer. You have the question, and down here you have the answer. Last 10 seconds. Yes, the time is up. Time for us to proceed to the next part. And this is actually the most important part. Okay. What to do when there is no auxiliary? That's when students really have a doubt. Okay. Like, okay, there is an auxiliary. We know what to do. But what if there is no auxiliary, sir? Then what to do? Well, here is what you will do. Let's consider this example. The example is, as soon as she gave me the present, I thanked her. So what are the steps here? As usual, the first step is start with no sooner. That's not a problem. Second step now is to spot the auxiliary. Of course, it's not here. So what do? You know that gave is a past tense here. That's why you would see in the title there's this past tense that I'm dealing with here. Past tense, guys. So the past tense of give is gave. That's why, since it's past tense, we will use did. This word here, did. And once we use did, we get the verb in the present form. So no sooner did she give me. Well, this S need not be capital. It should have been a small s. Kind of a proofreading, guys. So no sooner did she give me the present than I thanked her. Notice that thanked ed stays the same way. Only the first part is when you bring the verb into the present form. Again, you have a minute to start jotting it down. I'm sure you're loving this. In the first one, you had the auxiliary. I believe we had will there. Here, we dealt with the first tense, which is the past tense. And if you don't have an auxiliary in the past tense, well, then you use did. How did we know that it is past tense? Because of the verb gave. Give is the present tense and gave is the past tense, which has been used here. So I know it's past. That's why I used did. But having used did, I then brought the verb to the present form. After than, after the word than, nothing changes. I thanked her remains I thanked her. Thanked her. Remember the t sound I had talked about in previous lectures. Thanked her. That's it. The time is up. Time to dive into another discussion because we talked about the past tense here. Now what to do when there is present tense verb plus s? Let's discuss this. As soon as the teacher enters the classroom, so there you have it. What was it, guys? Present tense verb with s. So here you have enters. Now what to do? As usual, the first step is very simple, no sooner. Now because you have this s thing, we use does. Now remember last time when we used did, we brought the verb to the present form. Here when we use does, we will bring this enters to its normal form, enter. And as usual, after than, nothing will change. The students stand in respect. Well, the students stand in respect. After than, nothing changes. I will point it out again that it is than and not then. Your countdown has started. Kindly jot it down. So first we saw the past tense. We saw one with the auxiliary. Now we saw present tense with the s. Then you use does. And because you used does, the enters changed to enter. Sure you're loving this? Let me know in the comments if this was helpful. That's why I said that it's one of those topics that actually seem very easy, guys. But trust me, even scholars lose marks here. Another 15 seconds before we proceed to another category. For no sooner than. The time is up. Let us go ahead and proceed to the next entry, which is the plain present tense. Here you had the last slide we have the present tense but with the s. Here you have plain simple present tense. For example, as soon as the employees see the manager, they greet him. Now here you have see, present tense. The past tense is saw and there is no s there for the verb. So sees, there is no sees here. Now the first step as usual is very simple. We start with no sooner. The next is we use do here. Simple present tense without the verb having the s. So do. And so there is no change. No sooner do the employees see remains see. Okay. Then and nothing after than will change. They greet him Well, they greet him. Nothing changes. Your minute starts now. This one was very easy, is it not? Because when it's plain and simple present tense, you use do. When you have the auxiliary provided, well, then you simply use the auxiliary given. In the past tense, you use did, and if the verb has s, you use does. But remember the changes after did and does. You might, as homework, construct your own questions with each of this following case or cases that we studied. Get one, apart from, of course, what I shared, one sentence for each type, and then get your own answer as well with no sooner than. You can email me or leave it in the comments. One line for each category. That will be a very interesting homework for no sooner than. For poem, I believe I have given you the homework. You have to find the meaning of the word beset. I hope you're not forgotten. Okay, the time is up. All right, and now it's almost time for us to say goodbye, but let me share some entries from the textbook. In the textbook, page 165, you have the following questions, all for no sooner than, and here I would like to share the answers immediately with you. For A, you will have no sooner is the bill passed, because you have the auxiliary provided here. Now you can correlate it to whatever we have studied already in the previous slide. For the second one, no sooner did the thief escape, because ed past tense and there is no auxiliary, so we used did. The third one, no sooner have, because the auxiliary have has been provided. Notice because we used did, the escaped changed to escape, brought it to the present form. No sooner can for the fourth one, because the auxiliary can was provided. And the last one, it's rings with s, and therefore we used does, and because we used does, the rings changed to ring, the normal form without the s. Notice every time after than, the part remained the same. After than, you have no changes at all. Well, I hope that you are getting this. There are a few more entries from the textbook. These are all from your textbook. In fact, there are 3. I've shared it. This is not exactly the start. That's why you don't have it as capital A. So you can have this as capital A. And here this is from 1.2. These are the units probably you would have studied. We have not covered them yet, but 4.6 is definitely on my agenda. The third and the fourth unit is what we'll do first. And this one probably, yeah, I don't want you to have a homework, anything apart from the one I just said. No, it's okay. Notice that after did, we changed the verb saw to see here. Very important. After I used did, the went changed to go, and after then sat remained sat. After did, arrived changed to arrive. Sure, you're noticing such things. Okay, then let me come on cam. Time to wrap up the lecture. It has been a fantastic experience bringing all of these lectures to you. Let me know if you liked it. Today we studied the poem 3.4, The Will to Win, and of course we studied the grammar topic no sooner than. Up until next time, stay home, stay safe, leave in the comments, do the homework. Up until next time, bye bye, take care.